And welcome back to Evening Side. I'm your host, Bobby McGee, and that was the Harbor House Community Calendar, brought to you 3 to 6 times a day. Let you know what's going on over at the Harbor House Hotel. And this, of course, brings us right up to the Homegrown segment, one of my personal favorites, because I get to say, hey, Cousin Chestar, how are you?
Hey, Cousin Bobby, I'm doing well. Happy Monday to you, eh?
Dark and rainy, dark before I even got on. It's hard to take people to the evening if it's evening before my show even starts, but I shall persevere.
Well, because we're both related and we both know the sunshine exists in our heart.
Ah, beautiful. Poetry. I love it. I love it. What's going on?
Well, did you have a great weekend?
I had an okay weekend. As you know, Daddy's Girl's coming up, opening nights on Friday. I'm doing not only a role in there, I've somehow managed to inherit doing the light design too. Oh, come on, I wanted to. Never mind. I was trying to lay that off and be. It's great. And it's a fascinatingly complex setup. And so it's pretty much occupying all my time that I'm not actually parked in this chair talking to my listeners. How was your weekend?
Oh, well, I had a great weekend. I even went out and checked out the Billy Bishop Legion here in Kitsilano.
The Billy Bishop? I didn't know you was a veteran.
I actually used to be an air cadet, and they allowed me to be a member of the Royal Canadian Legion now. So.
Sweet.
And this city of Vancouver is getting ready for Remembrance Day ceremonies that are prepared for this Friday. I'm sure Salt Spring Island has a cenotaph, which everyone will be taking a moment to remember the following. Is it in downtown Ganges?
Yeah, you know the main park there, that's where the Saturday market is?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a little pathway that goes to a cenotaph right there, smack in the center of that park. I think it's a Centennial Park, they call that particular green space. But
That's
yes, we do. We have a pretty extensive parade here as well, and we still have veterans alive from the Second Great War.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Because what was some of your earlier memories of Remembrance Days past? Because, like, I remember in junior high or even elementary school, they used to have, like, poems that you could write for Remembrance Day. And what do you remember?
Oh, I'm not sure that what's going on in the schools now, but it's at least here in Salt Spring, it's very artsy and craftsy, and we tend to be sensitive to that kind of thing. But I think the biggest memory that I have was going through I think Mom had just left the Air Force, but was still integrated. Like, I used to be the pin setter on the Air Force base over there on Sea Island. Back when the Beatles came through and I got to watch them, you know? Back then, everything was black and white then, as I remember it.
Wow, amazing.
But yes, the festivities or the ceremony on the Air Force base was extensive and detailed. And I remember that. And of course, the Cuban Missile Crisis at that time was still very clear in my young mind as well. So I remember that one because it really had the impact, the realization that there are forces inimical to what I am doing, and that for us to lead the life that we lead, some people got to feed the tree of freedom with their blood once in a while.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I want to encourage everyone to take a moment this Friday and put the Western machine at a standstill. Remember what you have. During your moment of silence, remember to respect those that have sacrificed the ultimate price to give you what you may take for granted. See, as I mentioned, I was an air cadet as a young man, so it's not a new routine to me to be out on a cold or wet November 11th. It was my civic duty a couple times to be on the cenotaph guard with our white belts, white gloves, and white lanyards, and our blue cadet uniforms and red poppies over our hearts. I always remember that the world only had 21 years of peace between World War I and World War II. Remembering where we are now, only 66 years after World War II has ended. Not forgetting the wars that are still happening, though, and the people fighting and risking their lives day to day. As a young man, every year I imagined what it would be like to be called to arms, and the only training I would get would be what I was shoved into, and the rest survival instinct. With that in mind, I came across a band I would like to introduce to the listeners today called Corb Lund and the Hurtin Albertans, previously known simply as Corb Lund, and that's spelled C-O-R-B-L-U-N-D. They are an indie Canadian country music band. So this will be our first taste of country music on Homegrown, cuz.
All right.
Corb Lund has 6 studio-released albums since they formed in 1995. They have won numerous awards in Canada, the U.S., Australia, and in France. They're on the tail end of a tour with their final show in Bosman, Montana, tomorrow night at the filling station. As a Remembrance Day tribute, I would like to introduce you to Corb Lund and the Hurtin Albertans with I Want to Be in the Cavalry on CFSI 107.9 Salt Spring Island Radio.
Well, I want to be in the cavalry if they send me off to war. I want a good steed under me like my forefathers before. I want a good man when the bugle sounds and I hear the cannons roar. Well, I want to be in the cavalry if they send me off to war. Well, I want a horse and a volunteer force that's riding forth at dawn. Please save for me some gallantry that will echo when I'm gone. I beg of you, Sarge, let me lead the charge and the battle lines are drawn. Let me at least leave a good hoofbeat that remember loud and long. Oh, I'm not a good foot soldier, make I'd be sour and slow at march. And I'd be sick on a Navy ship and the sea would leave me parched. But I'll be first in line if they let me ride, by God, you'll see my starch. Low back o'er the heath with the laurel wreath underneath that victory arch. Well, I wanna be in the cavalry if they send me off to war. Well, I want a good steed under me like my forefathers before. I want a good mount when the bugle sounds and I hear the cannons roar. Well, I wanna be in the cavalry if they send me off to war. Battle's blue and the day is lost or won. Let them play their flutes and stir up my boots and place them back to front. Cause I won't be back on the riderless black and I'm finished in my hunt. Well, I wanna be in the cavalry if they send me off to war. Well, I wanna be in the cavalry but I won't ride home no more.